Chapter 5. Rear Window. Tiana finds the three of them just as they're starting to get bored. The group had already decided there was no point hiding the situation from her, so the plan was to tell her everything once the tiny one brought it up. Still, it wasn't easy. The whole thing was too surreal. Even they weren't sure if it had actually happened. Tomás's sister parks her car, an older hatchback model, in the same spot she used when she went to school there. Instead of waiting for her brother and the others to get in, she decides to walk over to them. From a distance, or even up close, Tiana looks more like a student than the three of them. She's incredibly short, barely reaching Tom's shoulder, and she looks really young too. Even though she's 22, she could easily pass for 13 or 14. "Hey guys! Ready for an exciting afternoon?" she says, smiling as she mimics crazy steering wheel motions. "Hi, Tiana." Susie steps forward and hugs her friend. "Missed you." "Yeah, you haven't shown up in forever. I have the excuse of being buried in college work." "It's not like I've been doing nothing either," she laughs. Tom and Rafa greet Tiana with a smile. Even though they lived together, it had been a few days since he last saw her. Her arrival makes him a little nervous. He's worried about how she'll react to what they're about to tell her. "So, Tom, why do you want to go to that old mall? I need a good reason, or it's not happening. I don't want Mum yelling at me later." Tomás starts explaining everything, from when he entered the strange alley to the empty mansion and all the hallucinations he's had so far. You can tell by the look on his sister's face that she doesn't believe a word of it. Even Susie and Rafa backing him up doesn't seem to make a dent in her expression. All she can think is, what drugs are they on? Of course, she doesn't actually believe they're using anything, but there's no way any of this is real. It must be some prank they're pulling. It's not until Tom starts talking about the mall events that she begins to understand why they want to go back there. "There's no way I can believe this. Do you guys realize how ridiculous this crap sounds?" She crosses her arms and scoffs. "You can believe it. I know how it sounds," Tom replies. "But look at this." He lifts his shirt, showing the bruises all over his body, not to mention the cut on his arm. "I wouldn't joke about something like this. I'm seriously messed up." "My God!" Tiana is speechless. Her brother's condition is pathetic. If someone had done that to him, like bullying or something, he wouldn't make up a story like this. Even if it's not real, Tom believes it is. "I get it, Ty," Susie says, placing a hand on her friend's shoulder. "Even I can't believe it, and I was there. So, shall we? Let's see what we can figure out." Tiana just nods, and they all get in the car. On the way there, the three of them fill the driver in on all the missing details. By the time they finally reach the parking lot of the abandoned mall, Tom's sister is fully caught up. They can't drive into the lot. Some barricades have been installed by the property owners to prevent cars from using it. So they park nearby and walk to where Tom thinks the secret door is located. As the group crosses the parking lot, Tomás looks around. The place looks exactly like it did at dawn, but it doesn't feel the same. Earlier, the atmosphere was much darker, and not just because it was nighttime. Waking up there mysteriously had left a mark on him. A very different experience from walking now through the empty spaces with his sister and his friends. They arrive at the spot where the door should be without hesitation. Looking around, there's nothing but a plain wall. Tom remembers the door being between two decorative features on the wall, but he can't remember exactly which. So, they all start pushing against different parts of the wall until Rafa notices something. "Found it!" he yells happily, "but it won't open when I push." You can see the wall move slightly under pressure. The outline of the door becomes visible against the decorations, which seem to exist just to hide this entrance. "I remember it opened outward." "I don't know if we'll be able to push it open," Tom says. Hearing this, Rafa starts trying to wedge his fingers into the gap to pull it open, but it doesn't work. "I know how we're going to open this," Tiana says excitedly. Maybe this is all nonsense, but she's having fun now. "Rafa, run to my car and grab the crowbar from the trunk." She tosses him the key. "Why me?" "And why do you have a crowbar in your trunk?" he asks, confused. "Because you're the fastest, and I said so." "Duh." She crosses her arms. "Man, so bossy. Fine, I'm going." He runs off toward the car. Tom looks at his sister, just as curious. Why on earth does she have a crowbar in her car? So what's the deal with the crowbar? He asks, raising his hands. I don't know, it's been there since I got the car. It's used, remember? Yeah, but you never thought to take it out. Aha. If I had, we wouldn't be able to use it now. She grins and lifts her nose proudly. Don't try to justify your laziness like that. Still, guess we're lucky you bought your car from a burglar. Tiana just sticks out her tongue at him. A few moments later, Rafa returns with the crowbar in hand. It's not very big, but it might just be enough to open the door. Out of breath, the redhead hands the metal tool to Tom, who starts working on the door. Susie and Tiana stand off to the side, chatting and laughing at how clumsy he looks, trying to break into a secret passage. Tom takes so long that Tiana manages to tell practically everything about her college classes and list the guys she finds interesting, which isn't many. The door opens silently. Some boxes are blocking the entrance, but not much else. Even with the late afternoon sunlight coming in, the room inside is still very dark. Tomás pulls out his phone to use as a flashlight. The others quickly follow, and they enter the secret room without delay. The place is extremely dusty, old, and damp, so much so that Susie starts sneezing and stays near the entrance. Inside, there are some standard office furniture pieces. A few are badly rusted, metal shelves, cabinets, and stacks of boxes everywhere. The cardboard is saggy and dark from the humidity, giving the place a musty smell. Not terrible, but very unpleasant. The room isn't big, but their flashlights can't light up the whole place. Tom goes to the spot where he remembers waking up, in the center. You can still see the mark his body left on the floor, like a chalk outline from a cartoon crime scene, but created by the absence of dust. The four of them gather around the mark in silence, a heavy discomfort washing over them. They just stand there, staring. For a few seconds, or maybe minutes, it's hard to tell. Susie starts sneezing again. In between achoo's, she swings her flashlight around. By pure luck, she tilts her head back to try and hold in a sneeze, and spots something strange. Right above the body outline on the ceiling is a phrase written in crude letters. Being hunt. You're being hunted? Tsukimoto reads out loud. What? Tiana looks at her friend, who points to the ceiling. When Tom sees the message, his heart skips a beat. It's not just the content, it's the handwriting. He's sure it's his. Even through the shock, two questions flood his mind. How and with what? The room doesn't have a tall ceiling. It would be possible to climb on the furniture and write it, but there are no marks on the floor to show that happened. And with what was it written? He didn't have his backpack or anything else to write with. Maybe something from the room. If that's the case, it should still be around. It's your handwriting, isn't it, Tom? Rafa asks. He knows his friend well enough to tell. Tomás just nods. And what does being hunted mean? Susie asks. Could it be that the thing, whatever it was, that tried to get into the mansion is after us? In the mansion, I did feel like prey being cornered, she adds. So thinking that something is after us isn't that far-fetched. Your guess is as good as mine, Rafa says, walking over to one of the cabinets and pushing it under the writing. The thing is heavier than it looks. Guys, there's a lot here that just doesn't make sense, Tiana says, watching Rafa climb up to get a better look at the text. Seriously? Susie says sarcastically. Seriously, you dummy. Tiana laughs. Forget all the supernatural nonsense you're talking about. Look at this room. It's here. Real. So why? Why would an old mall have a secret room? We're calling it secret because of the door, Rafa replies. But it could just be a normal archive room. It's not unusual for places to hide exits and entrances from the public. He runs his finger along the writing on the ceiling. It's hard to tell what it was written with. It's dry and kind of brown. I don't know. That doesn't convince me. And what was it written with? Tom said he didn't have anything on him. No clue. It looks like dried blood. It turns brown. But it definitely wasn't written with a finger or anything like that. I don't know. Rafa gets down. He's taller than Tom, and he barely managed to reach it. His friend wouldn't have been able to write it. I don't think there's anything else here, Tom says. I don't know about you guys, but I just want to go home and rest. All right, let's go. I'll drop you guys off, Tiana replies. Mandy was parked in her car, positioned across from the entrance to the old mall's parking lot. From there, she had an almost perfect view of where her classmates were. She still wasn't entirely sure why she was even there. Well, she did know. She came to spy on them. She even brought a professional camera to use its zoom. The real question was why she'd gone through all that trouble. Her driver certainly wasn't thrilled about the detour. When he thought he was going to be dismissed after dropping Mandy off at home, he found out he'd be stuck on stakeout duty with the girl. At least he'd earn some overtime. Tom's ex showed up just after Rafa had gone to grab the crowbar. She even saw the redhead running back to the parking lot with the tool. That scene alone was enough to pique her curiosity, because clearly that wasn't normal. They were definitely going to break into something. Using the zoom on her camera, she could more or less see what the group was doing, but it made no sense. Tom was using a crowbar on a wall. Just a wall. Then the secret door started to move, revealing a passage. Mandy's jaw dropped in pure shock. Instinctively, her finger started snapping picture after picture. She didn't know yet what she was going to do with them, but she knew they'd come in handy. The group stayed inside for maybe half an hour. During that time, Mandy sent a few of the photos to April, but her cousin didn't see them. She usually did her homework when she got home. Probably that was the reason. Eventually, the group left the parking lot. They all looked worried. Without much conversation, they got into Tiana's small car and drove off. Mandy was itching to jump out and run over to the spot to see what they'd been doing. As soon as they were out of sight, she made her move. "Let's go, Ricardo," she called out, stepping out of the car and barely looking both ways before crossing the street. The area wasn't busy, but still, it was important. "What? My job's just to drive," he muttered, barely glancing up from his phone. He was admiring some scenic shots on social media. "Yeah? And if something happens to me, who do you think they're going to blame?" she shouted. She was already deep in the parking lot. "Damn it!" Ricardo didn't hesitate. He got out quickly and followed his spoiled passenger. Mandy reached the wall and didn't see anything strange. It just looked like a regular wall. But as she looked closer, she could tell that part of it was slightly raised. Luckily for her, Tom and his friends hadn't shut the door properly. She didn't even need a crowbar to get in. Inside, the room looked exactly the same as they had left it. Like them, Mandy used her phone's flashlight to check the area. Nothing in there justified Tom's sudden interest. Most of the boxes were empty, as were the filing cabinets. Ricardo, walking past the cabinet Rafa had used to inspect the writing, commented that someone must have climbed up there. Almost immediately, the two of them looked up at the ceiling and spotted the same phrase that had shocked Tom earlier. "Why would someone come all the way here just to tag the ceiling?" "And they spelled it wrong too," Ricardo muttered as he started heading for the exit. "I don't know," Mandy replied. She snapped a few photos and then followed her driver back to the car. She knew it wasn't them who had written it. For starters, none of them had gone in with backpacks. Everything had stayed in the car. So, unless one of them pulled a can of spray paint out of their butt, it didn't make sense. Second, she knew that handwriting. It was Tom's. She had copied enough of his homework while they were dating. There was no mistaking it. "You're being hunted." What could that even mean? And who was it meant for? If Tomás wrote it, then who was supposed to read it? And why there of all places? One thing Mandy knew for sure, it was a good thing she broke up with him. Because whatever was going on there, she didn't want anything to do with it.